mentioned, my name is Lindsay Wrege. I am one of the co-founders and the CEO of 321 Coffee. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about sort of my segue into this world, if you will. So when I was in elementary school, kindergarten to be exact, I think we can all sort of remember like kindergarten, everything is brand new, right? Like going to school is new, the school bus is new, the hallways are new, there's the bathroom, it's all just new. And there's definitely fear associated with new and with unknown, purely for just like finding your place where you fit in, and like where you have your routine and you're confident in like how you spend your day. And so I remember when I was in kindergarten, I showed up to one of the first days, and it was again all the fear, etc. And I was at recess one day, and I received an invitation to join one of these exclusive like recess clubs. We all remember those too. And it was like that was like your people, that was who you hung out with at recess. Maybe you coordinated and all wore like purple one day of the week. And so I was like, oh, that's sweet. Like I'm gonna have my friends and my belonging. So I learned a little bit more about this particular recess club, and they have a rule that if you wanted to be in this club, you couldn't be friends with those people. Y'all, this was kindergarten. Like this is where some of this division is stemming from. And that didn't sit well with me. So I ended up starting my own recess club, and I called it Friendship Club. And my rule was that if you wanted to be in this club, you had to be friends with everyone. And truthfully, looking back on this, I'm really proud of that. I am really proud that from such a young age, I was able to really just embody inclusion and letting people feel like they can be themselves and like they don't have to follow certain societal rules of who you can like and who you can be friends with, but that you can like others for who they are. So, you know, things are on the come up for me now. I've got my own friendship club going. I've got, you know, we're all coordinating our purple socks or whatever it is. And then 2 years later, I have been switching schools. So I go from like, you know, finally having it all figured out to again, back at the new kid, again, not knowing where the bathrooms are, again, not knowing who I'm going to hang out with at recess, and just all of those, the repeat fears. Well, fortunately, at this new school, they had sort of their own friendship club that I got invited into. And it was really special because these girls that invited me to be their friends truly embodied inclusion and specifically just accepting others for who they were. And it was something that I ended up learning a lot from them. So because they had such a strong value towards inclusion, we were all different in our own ways. And what made me the most different from them is that I am neurotypical. So the three girls were Sarah, Grace, and Anna. Anna has Down syndrome, Grace has DeGeorge's syndrome, and Sarah had a stroke when she was 1. We fell in love with each other. And they're actually all still some of my best friends. So Grace, Anna, Sarah, we call them the Gas Girls, because GAS. And I mean, we are still like going on trips. We go to the beach in the summer. We made these shirts one year. We were driving down, we were bored in the car. So we bought a bunch of like white t-shirts and Sharpies, and we wrote warning, we have gas on it, and like wore them all around Florida. It was so fun. Anyways, but just, you know, being with these girls and seeing all that they stand for and seeing others for who they are was inspiring, and it truly was life-changing. I think it's really special when you think about, you know, not every day you meet someone that's 1, going to be in your life forever, and 2, really going to sort of take your life and like send it in a whole new direction of what you learn from them. But some things that I did learn from them is that, you know, I always say like, yes, I walk a little different than them, they talk a little different than me, but like, that doesn't matter because we are just friends. We're all gonna wear our purple socks together, or whatever it is, play reset or play hide and seek at recess. They taught me really how to live in the moment. One of my favorite memories of with one of them, this is like, we're jumping down to today's world, but we were working together at the coffee shop and we were about to close, and someone came up and ordered like 7 lattes. All right, Grace, like, come on, like, start cranking out espresso. And she said to me, like, Lindsay, like, why are you rushing? And it was this beautiful moment of like, you're right, Grace, like, I don't have to be rushing. Like, let's appreciate today, let's appreciate this moment. Like, they're not gonna rush, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna take a couple minutes to make this latte, then we'll close and we'll get out of here. But it was a very refreshing reminder. The joy that a lot of them have is unmatched. They are just so happy to, we'll go out for dinner, and Grace will always say, like, thank you for going to dinner with me. And it's genuine and it's heartfelt, and she really values that human connection. Anyway, so we became such great friends at a young age. And I think that we all, like I said, saw each other just for who we were. Because at that age, third grade is what, like 7, 8 years old. The label Down syndrome or DeGeorge syndrome means nothing to a 7 or 8 year old. You see each other for who they are, and you see differences, not as being scary, but just as being a conversation starter. And we all start out that way. And so this sort of theme of innate inclusion is something that I think we see in today's youth, and how can we find ways to hold on to that and to carry that principle with us as we grow older, to just continue seeing each other for who they are, and not be letting any sort of social stereotypes limit us or divide us. So, met Grace, Sarah, and Anna, my gas girls. We grew up, we had an absolute blast. I got to do all sorts of cool things. So brag on them for a couple more minutes. Together we went surfing, and we ended up helping paraplegics surf. Got really involved since my mom grew up in upstate New York. She said, you Southern girls are going to be skiers. We got involved in Special Olympics skiing. Freaking awesome. We helped blind people ski. Like, it's incredible just, what people are capable of, again, when you look past any sort of, they have fill in the blank, so therefore fill in the blank. When you just open your mind to what people are capable of, you can do awesome things. So grew up, again, we're on the come up, life is good, we're just getting to be involved in all sorts of fun experiences. And I get to college, I went to NC State. Woo, and the other, cool. Every once in a while I say that because I'm used to like Raleigh being full of NC State, and like it's like crickets. Gosh, anyway, so yeah, we're at NC State. And again, many of you can probably remember that college is like the time when it's like your springboard, right? Like you can pick a major, you might get to study abroad, you are picking where you go to college if that's part of your life path. You can see local, are you gonna go to explore a new part of the country, whatever it is. But it's sort of this world of like opportunity of what's next. And so I was obviously thrilled. At the time, I really wanted to go to medical school, so I was really excited to finally be 18, where I could finesse myself into an operating room. I got to do some sort of surgeries. That was awesome. No longer in my life at all, but a really cool couple of weeks of my life. But I recognized that for my friends, this reality of sort of like the springboard that we were talking about wasn't the case. So there's a lot of great programming, like I mentioned, sort of that's been made adapted in the recreational space. So there's the tennis, the baseball, the skiing, all of the things. But professionally, there's a huge drop off of support and opportunity for people with disabilities. There's actually a statistic that 80% of individuals with disabilities are unemployed. And then friends of some of these people, I hear, one of my friends, her name is Emma. She is fabulous. Anyways, she was working at Food Lion all throughout high school. I was really proud of her, obviously. We ended up, again, minding the timeline. At this point, we've started 3, 2, 1. We'll get to that more in a second. But in the beginning, everybody was volunteering with us. And every week, we would put out new volunteer opportunities, and Emma was quick to pick them up each time. And I was sort of confused as to why she continued to grab extra shifts with us as a volunteer when she could have picked up extra shifts at Food Lion and gotten paid. And so I essentially asked her, like, why is this? And she said, all I do at Food Lion is clean bathrooms. Emma today, if you saw her working in the shop, she is an espresso queen. Like, stay out of her way. She's making beautiful chocolate espresso. She's pouring latte art way better than I can. And so many of our people are so capable, They just unfortunately aren't given an opportunity. So anyways, we're time hopping again. So we're back to being a freshman in college, back to sort of recognizing this difference of what I'm experiencing with woohoo, like college, versus the exact opposite for my friends who are graduating from high school. And specifically, I remember wanting to apply to different jobs and summer internships, but seeing firsthand how, yes, like I'm being recruited for these different companies, but it's just like that kindergarten experience where I'm being recruited by what feels like more exclusive clubs. But this time it's companies where my friends aren't being given space or a role or valued as a part of the team. And so, again, that's not equitable. It's not inclusive. It's not recognizing the value and diversity that exists in people who are different than you. And so we did something about it. We went out and started 321 Coffee, which is a coffee shop and coffee roaster that's really built on inclusion and specifically including individuals with disabilities into the workforce. So today I'm really proud that we employ over 30 adults with disabilities. They're all on our payroll, making above minimum wage plus tips. And they are doing everything from roasting the coffee to taking the orders, running the POS. They're, like I said, making the lattes, making the latte art. They're chatting with customers. They're speaking on behalf of the company, and the confidence and the skills that so many of these people have developed over the past couple of years of working at 321 is incredible. And it just shows that when you set the bar high, you give them room to rise to the occasion. Many of our team hasn't had, I'm not hiring them out of Starbucks. They haven't been baristas before. I don't drink coffee. I have not been a barista before. We're all learning together. And many of them, it's also their first job. And so, working with the people as to how do you learn best? Do you need to be in the shop doing a task over and over and over again to really get a feel for it? Do you need to be at home with a video where you can close your door and have your space and watch the video to understand it? Do you need written instructions? If you're not able to read, do you need picture instructions? How is it that you can learn? And how can we set you up for that success? And so this is something that, we see it definitely in our group, but in our team. But I think it's applicable in all teams where you just have people who are different from one another, and that's okay, but one size doesn't need to fit all. So that's definitely something that we've taken as a really core part of what we do, and we've seen the return is that we just celebrated 3 years of our first shop being open yesterday, so that was fun. Thank you. And we've been around this for 5 years, and we have had no one leave. And we are in the food industry, which has terrible turnover, and we went through COVID, which had terrible turnover. So it demonstrates that you really commit to your people, and when you get to know them for who they are, you buy into them, they're going to buy into you. So that's critical. So, all right, back to my story. The freshman year, we're going to start this company. It's going to be awesome. We're freshmen in college. All that we have done is graduate from high school. I spent my high school years in the operating room, not very applicable to the coffee industry. So what the heck do I do first? I have no idea. So, like anyone, you start with just saying your idea out loud, because at that point, that's all there is to do. And I got really lucky that I was at lunch one day, and I said to people I happened to be eating lunch with, I'd really like to start a coffee shop that employed people with disabilities. And those people said, that's awesome, I want to help. And I was like, oh gosh, all right, now I've got people looking at me like, what do we do next? So I was like, well, I guess we come up with a name. And we were like, all right, that's a good idea. We need a name. And we were sitting around again at the lunch table, and someone said, Down syndrome is when someone has 3 copies of the 21st chromosome, 3, 2, 1. How about 3, 2, 1 copy? We're like, yep, perfect, moving on. Let's come up with a logo. And my student at the time was in graphic design studies, and so I ran back to the girl and I was like, do you know how to use Photoshop? And she was like, duh. And so I was like, okay, I need a logo. And there's our first logo. And we just sort of kept following our noses and putting this out there that this is what we're trying to do. And we were so fortunate that we had so many people drawn to it who said, I'm willing to help. And it was the people who made the logo. It was professors on campus saying, like, if you want to plug into events and serve coffee, I can connect you with XYZ people at the university. It was, you know, professors saying, when you need help building financial models, talk to me. Real estate, talk to me. Marketing, talk to me. It was just all these things. And I think that it still is so special that people were willing to just offer what they could. And it didn't mean that people were handing us $1 million checks. That would have been awesome, but it did not happen. That's okay. But I remember someone calling me and saying, I'm an art teacher. I can't support financially, but if you ever need a mural drawn, please call me. And like, I think that just shows that people, when you tell your story, and especially obviously this is applicable to the world that you all are in, when you tell your story and it's something with purpose, people are drawn to it. And that's what's going to resonate with people. That's what's going to create that community legs, if you will, to keep marching forward. So we did not become an overnight success. Freshman year, I was like, oh yeah, we're going to go open a shop in downtown Raleigh. It's going to be awesome. Smelly, I was a freshman in the fall of 2017. It is 2020. We still do not yet, well, sort of, have a shop in downtown Raleigh, but not quite what I was envisioning. But we started with folding tables, and I bought Starbucks coffee, drove it over in the back of my car, just got some aprons off of Amazon, some of that iron-on print paper where we ironed on that logo onto the aprons. Reached out to some friends, the gas girls, Emma, said, hey, I want to start this. Like, I have no idea how this is going to work. We're going to offer to give coffee away for free. Let's see what we can do. They said, I'm there. That was for some of the volunteer days that I was mentioning. And we did it. And we did that first event, and I was like, wow, look at us. You know, the aprons and everything. And it was then even easier to do the second event and then the third event. And what was also cool is to, you know, again, talking about putting your messaging out there and letting people come to you willing to help. We have people coming and saying, like, will you come to my golf tournament? Will you come to my corporate office? Will you come to my wedding? That was really fun. It was just beautiful to, again, see the community really rally behind what we were doing. So those were our beginning days. We then ended up opening a shop over at the State Farmers Market. That's what we celebrated 3 years for. Again, talk about scrappiness. We decided we were going to open there. One of our friends was in construction engineering. His parents owned a construction company. So we said, all right, you're going to be our general contractor for the project. I reached out to all of my friends at this point, and I said, okay, I need a nail gun, I need a compressor, I need hammers. And so we had people just showing up there like, are you Lindsay? Like, I've got all sorts of tools in the back of my car for you. It's like, awesome, like, bring them in. So we stayed up till midnight, multiple nights, like, nail gunning all the boards together. We realized we did them wrong, we had to take them all down, put them all back up. You know, it was very scrappy, but again, we had so many people willing to help because they believed in what we were going towards. And they knew that by putting all these boards together, that was going to turn into a shop. That was what was going to create jobs, and that was what would be ultimately somebody's real source of pride and belonging here in the community, and that was really significant. So since then, we have just opened a shop at Nintendo's new headquarters. We opened in February, which is like way cool. It is just to like brag on them for a second. We've got 6 baristas who are there. The shop's open every day, and the Pando employees have just like fully bought into our people, and it's fantastic. Like, they are obviously very busy and growing a company of their own, but so many of them will come they'll stay and hang out for 20 minutes just chatting about whatever it is one of our baristas wanted to chat about. And some of them are like, you heard of drop shipping? Where is this coming from? And we'll come back multiple times throughout the day, and just seeing like the friendships that are fostering there, it's incredible. And this sort of speaks to another impact that I'm proud of, is that, you know, both in the Pendo shop and any of our public facing shops, I'm really proud of the jobs we're creating internally, but I'm also proud that it's a space for the community to really come in and see there's somebody with Down syndrome working the espresso machine. There's somebody with autism working the register. You know, doing it, you're bridging that proximity, and you then start the chain reaction to inspire somebody else to be more inclusive in their workforce. I think that, I just mentioned bridging proximity. That's so critical when you see other people who look like you, who come from similar places as you, doing something amazing. It makes you feel and believe that you can do something amazing. I know that was really critical for me as just like a young woman wanting to start something that's being young with not really much experience, and especially in a social setting. I think you hear a lot about college students coming up with some like incredible technology that ends up getting like sold to Amazon. You're like, well, that would be nice. That wasn't my reality. But seeing Maggie King from a place at the table, again, being someone who's young, someone who's female, someone who's doing something so powerful for the community, and it was working. And Maggie, I remember, was willing to talk to me. And of course, if you know Maggie, of course you know she'd be willing to talk to me. But at the time, like, that was really significant. There was all sorts of unknowns for me. And to have someone say, like, yes, there is a lot of unknowns, but I figured it out. I'll help you learn from my mistakes. And from what I don't know, I'll sit down and I'll figure it out with you. That is so powerful to say to someone, because I mean, anyone knows when you're moving into if you're going to try and do something that hasn't been done before, whether it's an event or you're going to start a new product or a new company, the list of unknowns is like insanely long. And truthfully, if I had known all of these unknowns that I was going to have to like figure out when I was starting a company, I don't know if I would have started it. But the naivety, truthfully, of we'll just figure it out one hurdle at a time, and not knowing how many hurdles there will be, made me run really fast. But yeah, having someone like Maggie, having someone who's real, and talking about the importance of spreading and giving people the space to speak at events, to support what they're doing, that are minorities, that are women in business, whatever demographic you're wanting to highlight. It's so important for the next generation of people to see that, and to see, like I said, people who look like them, people who are coming from similar backgrounds, doing it, and it's working, and the community's buying it. So I recognize that a lot of you are in communications and in marketing, and I appreciate so much of what representation we're starting to see, even just now on like Netflix shows. It's important. I think we're moving in the right direction, and I appreciate all of you all for just helping move this generation of communications towards a more progressive field. And with that, I would love to open it up. We've got a small group. I'd love to just make this a conversation. Happy to answer any questions. Also, one quick thing before I forget. There are bags of coffee that we would love to share with you. Also, please grab one on your way out.
And take a pastry.
And take a pastry. Thank you so much. But yes, these do sort of show what the different coffees are, moving from left to right, light, medium, dark, and decaf. There's only 2 bags of decaf, so it's up to you, move fast. Yes, and then on the back side, this also has information on wholesale, so we also partner with different companies to be their coffee providers. And then on the back, it shows really convenient. It shows how we can co-brand coffee to be used at different events, gifts, whatever it is. So yeah, thank you all again for what you're doing and for including me today.
Woo! Thanks, Lindsay.
Yes.
Why coffee? Why not tea or something completely different?
And the prize for being our icebreaker. I just want to talk about the socks. So, and then I promise I'm answering your question. So, March 21st, which is yesterday, is World Down Syndrome Day. So, like I mentioned, Down syndrome is the third where someone has 3 copies of 21st chromosome. So, chromosomes look like socks. So, a big thing that is done on March 21st and sort of throughout the week is to rock your crazy socks, to wear like really just bright colored socks to show how you love people who are different and spunky in their own way, and socks, because like I said, chromosomes look like socks. So these are just in some 3, 2, 1 crazy socks. We're super excited for them. So yes, we've got a couple of those to share as well. Anyway, your question about why coffee, truthfully, it was because I saw somebody else who was doing it with coffee. And it was like, oh, like that works for them, I bet you everything would work for us. since then, I've seen a lot of value in coffee because it's a very community setting. You know, people come in with friends. They come in to take a meeting. They come in and just sit and chat with baristas. You know, sort of whatever it is. It's a little slower pace sometimes. Most of the time for us it is. And it's a way where you can really, like, it's a normalized setting where people with and without disabilities can come together. It's not, you know, if you see someone with a disability working in a grocery store, you're not gonna walk up to them and say like, can I talk to you because you have a disability and like check that off the list, right? Like, that's not gonna happen. But if you're chatting with a barista, like, yeah, that's what you do. You chat with people, you chat with your bartenders. And so I really like how that has been such a medium to bring and build relationships and build proximity between our staff and the Raleigh community. And we've even seen some of our people are getting hired by these customers. One was hired to work at NC football, which is like his legit dream job. Way cool. Like people even say like Dave Doran, yeah, that's my second dad. So cool. And it's because they, like, yes, exactly. They started a great relationship. Yes.
I have a couple questions. One,
Yes.
when you went to NCC, what did you
Bonus.
graduate with? Just curious what your background is degree-wise.
Yes.
And then, like, I guess we both progressed in communications, and we're just wondering, like, what kind of, like, marketing efforts, or what's your, like, 5-year plan that you would like to see futuristically in, like, marketing, digital system?
Definitely. So I started off at NC State in biomedical engineering, which is like just as much of a mouthful as it sounds. Quickly switched out of that and into business administration with a concentration in entrepreneurship. Started 3-2, I was like, wow, this is awesome. Like, this is what I want to do. And so I ended up over there. As for marketing efforts, truthfully, we are pretty dependent on word of mouth. And it's myself, my partners, like, we're the ones posting on social media. It's an area that we recognize, like, is sort of a gap in our strengths, but it hasn't been something that we've quite figured out yet from a strategic standpoint on, like, how do we really pour fuel on the fire and, like, blow this thing up. So it's a lot of, you know, I guess we should post it. It's World Down Syndrome Day, so we post that. We are very active on social media. We've got a newsletter that we send out monthly, and then, like, whenever there's an announcement that we get really great engagement on. I think this is a good statistic, but I guess you'll know better. We have like a 50% open rate on our newsletter, which I feel like that's good. It's huge. That's what I thought. Yeah.
I got really excited when there's 22%.
Yeah, I was saying, in some category.
That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard. Yeah, we definitely, like I said, we built a community that's really rallying behind us, and so we're working to leverage that, just sort of in like, hey, we need your help sharing this post. Like, we just really sucks. Like, come by it, you know, that sort of stuff. And it's worked. So when I think about, I mean, even like from a PR perspective, we've gotten some good amount of publicity. But it's all been from me just like emailing random people and saying like, hey, we're gonna open this shop. Like, do you want to talk about it? And like the reporters say yes, which is great. So yeah, there's room for growth from a strategic standpoint. Where do we want to be in 5 years? We're really trying to see a lot of opportunities sort of in the two arms of our business being the retail setting, so opening shops. Each one of those creates a lot of jobs. That's huge. We have a wait list of I think that's like 62 people now. So and that's been without us doing any like external hiring. That's all inbound. And then we also see we also see a lot of opportunity in growing the roasting side of the business. So we are partnering with companies to put our coffee into their office. Then we grow that into like what we did with Penta, where we're actually operating a cafe and like, boom, that's jobs. You know, doing these co-branded coffee is huge because when a company sends that to their 200 employees, all of a sudden that's 200 new people who we may not have been able to reach otherwise, and we can then say, this is more ways you can support us. Rock your crazy socks, come visit the new shops, subscribe to the newsletter, all of the things. So those are the two areas that we're really pushing growth for. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
The Pendo opportunity seems like just a huge, like, perfect scenario. How did that come to fruition?
Really cool story. So G of Gas, Grace, her dad runs a company locally. It's not too big, but they do commercial interior design. And so when we first started roasting coffee, this came out of COVID actually. Obviously, like everyone was forced to shut down. All we were at this point was like coffee shops. But we were like, well, people aren't going to stop drinking coffee. They're just going to stop going to coffee shops so that we can roast the coffee. That's a job, and work hours that we can create, and then distribute to people. But what came out of that was all these companies saying, like, how do I get it in my office? So Grace's dad's company was the first to say, like, I want this in the office. So they're like, all right, we can do that. Like, we put it in big bags, we gave it to them, and that was that. They were then pitching to Pendo to do the interior design for Pendo's new building, and the interior furniture. And when Pendo was there and on site, his dad said, like, business or no business, like, the one thing I want you to leave with is, like, I want you to know about your tea and coffee, which is really cool. So then Pendo reached out to us, and I remember, like, when I saw the email pop in my inbox, I was like, from an Pendo, like, email address, I was like, what the heck? I was like, is this scam? Like, how did Pendo know who we are? Why do they care? Like, what's going on here? But they thought we were on the call with them, and they essentially said, like, we want to do whatever we can. Like, if it's, you know, oh, you're using coffee, cool, we'll do it in our space. Like, then we started doing cold brew and kegging it, and so they're like, cool, we'll buy a kegerator and have your cold brew on draft. And then the holidays came, and we were coming up with some new merchandise, and so they said, yeah, like, we'll ship it to all of our employees, like, across the country as, like, the holiday gift. Like, they were just so willing to do sort of whatever ideas we had together, again, because they recognized what by them using pipes, the impact that we were creating and making an impact through their supply chain. So then they said, like, you know, this was 2 years ago that we connected with them, and they said, our plan is to get this in headquarters. We want to make it really special for our employees. Like, if it fits into your plan, we would love to have there be like an on-site regional coffee. And that's what they did.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Just
It
one
was
person.
incredible.
talk
Yes,
one person, talk
exactly,
one
and that's
person.
what it was. Like, Trish Kegley, like she was the one who said, like, I bought in, I'm gonna do what I can, and like found a way to make an impact. It doesn't have to be the founder, it doesn't have to be the CEO, that can really take an idea and push it.
As a business owner, that really resonates with me in that, like, I have the ability to choose my vendors.
Yes,
I can make a conscious decision
absolutely.
to tell my vendor story to my clients, to my employees.
Yes,
You know, we could just order coffee and ship it as a gift, but if I'm telling a 3-2-1 story, it becomes more than a gift. It's, you know,
absolutely.
without sounding too, it's rising tide, right? It's you
Yes.
and our business.
It's that like ripple effect. And I mean, there's a great quote, and I think it resonates both on like a business level, but also on an individual consumer level, that every time you spend money, you're casting a vote for the type of world you want to live in. And like, okay, when we order from a place at the table, like that is the kind of world I want to live in, right? Like you're putting your money where your mouth is, and you're saying like, I am choosing you because I want to support you. I want to see you stay around, and I want to see you grow. So yes, I mean, exactly. Like thinking about, you can just vendor selection, like an opportunity for impact.
Yeah, and I love that when we were planning this event, so we get all of our banquets in partnership with the place at the table. So you kind of went down that path for me, and then I had the chance to talk to someone this morning. Yeah, like Megan, you hadn't heard of a place at the table yet, I don't think, and I think I was able to tell, you know, that story, Maggie's story, and you know, so just kind of one of those like you know, suggest it to me, even though I've been there before, I didn't think about it.
Yes,
So I love that.
definitely.
As you think about, you mentioned like trying to break down the story or people's misconceptions of people with disabilities and how, but as you think about expanding that into a broader context, what would you want bigger employers, but also government actors and other people really understand about why growing firms like 3-2-1 or anybody else who works in a space to help people with the particular disability, what's the message you want them to hear, and how could that they be able to expand what they're doing and how they think about it?
Definitely. So I think the big thing is, I mean, it completely stems back to like that elementary school experience of like, I want people to recognize that people are people. And like, just because they have the label does not mean like, oh, if you are in a wheelchair, then you can't go surfing, right? Like, no, we can just change how we surf and then they can surf and it's awesome. So not making assumptions. I mean, even just like, I see it all the time, like, if you walking into a building and someone's in a wheelchair and it's like, oh, like, let me open this door for you. Like, yes, that is very respectful, but these people are able to get in and out of doors, like, all day long. They go about their day without you, and like, you don't want to make the assumption like, oh, you need my help. So like, ask those things. Oh, can I get the door for you? And we see it like some of our people when they put their aprons on, tying behind their back. Do you need help with that? Some people yes, some people no. So after assume, because people are people. So that's a big one. From like a policy standpoint, one like, and this is about to get a little niche, but some like just interesting policies that exist around like people with disabilities. One is that if you are a registered person with a disability and receive like government funding, you're not allowed to have more than $2,000 in cash at a time. $2,000. That is like, yeah. And so that's our people. Like that's, I mean, they're needing to like spend money because they're making money and they can't cross the threshold, so it like completely de-incentivizes savings. And there's ways to like, there's like workarounds with like trusts and stuff, but obviously setting up trusts means you're working with lawyers and like financial advisors, and that can be expensive and sometimes inaccessible. So from like a very, given that you asked about government policy, like this is one that like I would love to see change, because like that is a broken system. Like the rest of us are like always incentivized to like save, like we're gonna match up all of the things, but like it should also be consistent for them too. Another one that is crazy is you can actually pay people with disabilities sub minimum wage rates. So depending on what the government, like, yes. So the government, essentially my understanding is that like the government says like, oh, like I think you can bring like 25 cents worth of value to a business per hour, and so like therefore doesn't matter like minimum wages, like we pay you like 25 cents an hour. That I just really believe is wrong. And again, like if you can think creatively on like how you can like enable someone like through different accommodations and like adaptations to really set people up to contribute, let them contribute. And people can contribute in different ways. And it's not always just about like maximum efficiency for throughput. Like there's so many different things that people can do that bring value to a business. And so it's about thinking with that open mind to set them up for success both on an individual level, but then also not letting your business view it as charity. You know, these people are bringing value to our company. These people are why we have the 50% open rate on our newsletter. It's why we have people who drive 45 minutes literally just for a cup of coffee. They're bringing value to us, and this is not being done out of charity. It's being done because together we can really build a sustainable business.
When are we starting a letter writing campaign?
I'll
Yeah.
So what advice do you have for those of us that work here for government or for another organization to set up a more inclusive recruitment practice? Like, I'm sitting here trying to think through in my head, like, where do you start? What's
Definitely.
it feels like you know, the paperwork is almost in place. Like, I think through some of our applications, there's, you know, all of these in written policies of like how you need to adapt.
Right.
But then there's like this big gap between that and actual recruitment and inclusivity. So I'm like trying to think how to address them. What would be a good start?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think it, like in any company that's like trying to be more diverse, like it's not your fault if like you're like if the only people on your application list are like, you know, old white men, let's call it, like, okay, then that's all the people that you literally have to like select from. So then you gotta take it one step further and like thinking about attraction. And I think to your point, like what's your first step? It's exactly what I said earlier with like starting 3, 2, 1. It's like saying it out loud. It's telling your team, like, I want to build a more inclusive and diverse team here. And so like by saying that and by letting everyone know like this is gonna be one of our values, then you can let different people in their various elements like make that impact. So it can be from the marketing perspective of like representation on your website. If you go to a website and you don't see anybody else that looks like you in the pictures, you may not feel like it's worth your time to apply there just purely because you don't feel like you belong. It's saying, writing, like, in your job description, like, we are an inclusive employer that will work with you. We, you know, and not just like an anti-discrimination clause, but like truly, and you can put it on your website too, like, we are willing to work with everyone on an individual level to set them up for success. Thinking about true like recruitment and like spreading the word that like you're hiring. It's we do it all the time. The companies that say like, hey, we're gonna hire, we want to be more inclusive. Here's the job description, and I send it out to those 62 people on our wait list and like say, you know, this may be a right fit for you, it may not be, but here's an opportunity of some like a company that is hiring that's like wants to be inclusive. And we're not the only people that have those lists. There's all sorts of local organizations that are, I mean, especially right now with all the labor shortages, like all that anyone's talking about. But at the same time, there's so many people that are looking for work, and so finding those people, like whether it's veterans, whether it's people that may have been formerly incarcerated, or there's people who are minorities, people with disabilities, like whatever it is, find those groups that exist and spread it to them, and then don't be discouraged if someone applies and has never been a barista. Right? Like I always say, I can train you on how to be an excellent barista. I can't train you on how to want to show up to work or to want to work with a team. And so find those qualities. I was listening to somebody else speak, they do HR, and they had such a great, they just seemed to have such a great team that like everyone was like really happy to be there. And so I essentially asked like, how did you find your people? And he said one of the questions that he asks in the interview, and I freaking love this, and I pretty much hire exclusively off of this question now, is it was, what is something kind that you've done for someone? And I thought that was such a beautiful thing to like consider if that's the value that you have in your company.
So as we're wrapping up, I really quickly want to thank my fellow board member Karen here. For some reason, I thought of this place for this meeting today, and I was like, hey, you know, I know they have a rental fee, but would you mind just reaching out and see if this is for a nonprofit, you know, if they would host us? And they wonderfully said yes. So I wanted to make a little plug for all of the parks facilities. A lot of people don't know that you can rent them for functions. So
It is beautiful.
yeah, I mean, like,
I could bring sort of
company luncheon, you know, appreciation events, seminars, like this is such a perfect
personal dinners.
Yeah. I actually hear people all the time who are like, oh, I'm searching for venues, and we represent a lot, and like, it's just so outside my budget, and I always say, check out the parks, because, you know,
I think there's actually some flyers over here that have information on those.
yeah, so I just wanted to put in that little plug, and also say, thank
you.
Rock my socks.
Yes.
But I think that's, you know, probably it for today. I'll send out follow-up notes with a link to Lindsay's LinkedIn. I would encourage y'all to connect and, you know, support 321 Coffee whatever way you can. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing y'all in April and May.
Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, everyone.
You get some coffee.
Yes, please do take any and all leftovers with you. Otherwise, I'm going to leave you with the park staff.